Hi everyone, back for another week's video. This is week 7, low light, and actually this image was taken yesterday. It started to snow again, so I went outside and decided to take a picture of Cletus, who is our little snowman that we made. The picture was actually taken with a flashlight to light up the front. It was a 15-second exposure, and then I ran behind it and popped the flash in the back. I think it was a quarter power. Alright, so let's get started on the video. I'm going to start off with a little color cast here, so it looks a little bit red. So I'm going to add some green here to get rid of that. Seems to be turning it a little bit green. Zoom in here. It's not too bad. It's a little green back there. Move this down a little bit. It's not bad. I think that looks okay. Alright, let's see. Zoom back out. Darken this area up over here. Get some of this black a little darker. Lower the exposure a little bit. I really got the snowman pretty dark. So I'm going to raise up my highlights a little bit. Actually, quite a bit. Wow. I don't want to blow this stuff out over here. Let's look at that. It's close. I'm looking at the numbers over here, which seems to be alright. I don't want to go too high with that. Let's see. Let's go put the whites up a little bit. It's not bad. And we're still okay with this. Doesn't appear to affect it too much. Alright, what should we do with it? I'm not liking this green down here. I'll lower the vibrance, because the vibrance is what will get rid of that color cast. Raise it up a little bit. That doesn't look too bad. I guess we leave the saturation as it is. It looks okay. I think that's alright. Doesn't look too bad to me. Let's open that up in Photoshop. This audio isn't coming out too low. I changed my microphone configuration here. We'll see how it works. Okay. Alright, first thing I want to do is lighten up the side of Mr. Snowman's face here. You know, I do like how it shows that it's round, but I think it could have a little more detail in there. So what I'm going to do is create a curves adjustment layer, and I'm holding down the Alt key while I do that. And what that does is it prompts the dialog box to come up, and I could name it. I'm going to call it Lighten, and click OK. And then instead of doing any sort of edit in here, I'm just going to change this over to multiply. No, I'm sorry, screen, which brightens the entire image. So we don't want that. So I'm just going to invert that mask and then get myself a brush, which I already have a brush selected. Zoom in a little bit. Hit F5, which brings up the brush dialog box there, and brush options, and transfers on. I want to make sure pen pressure's on for the opacity jitter. The lighter I press, I'm using a tablet, so the lighter I press, the less that's going to be affected here. So I'm just gonna paint a little bit on there and lighten up the side of the face. It's a little too much there. Make the brush a little bit bigger. Do that by hitting the bracket keys. Okay, and I don't know if you can notice, but Cletus actually has hair. It's little leaves. So he's got some funky hair. Paint that in as well so you can actually see the leaves. I don't want to go overdo it so it looks all noisy and funny there. I went outside the line a little bit there. I just hit the X key and it toggles your colors between white and black. Just painted a little bit black on that mask and painted that back in. And I'm just going around. This could be a little time consuming. Like most of the stuff I do, I like to fine tune little areas manually. Because most of the time the entire image doesn't need work. It's usually just sections of the image that need work. Alright. We might be able to do a little bit more. Maybe around the eye over here. A little bit, maybe over here where his neck comes in. It might be a little too strong. Control Z. A little too much. There we go. Okay, and now I want to work on. Hello, April. The dog just walked in, so if you hear that noise, that's just her shaking herself up. Alright, now I'm going to create another mask, which is going to be for the shadows, and it's going to be another curves adjustment. So I'm going to name that Shadows. And I'm going to change this one. Use the blending mode to multiply, which makes the whole entire image darker. And I'm once again going to invert that mask as well. And what I'm going to do with this is paint this whole top corner in over here. You see there's like a little fence in the back there that I really don't care for too much. And the sky's coming in a little bit, so I'm going to paint that in as well. Make a larger brush. And paint with white on the mask. Just cover that up. And I'm still using the pressure sensitivity. I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. And I'm going to come in on this light area here, so it doesn't take away too much attention from the snowman himself, because obviously the snowman is the subject here. Okay. And a little bit over on this side as well. And don't want to forget this top corner here. Maybe a little bit in here too. Okay. One other thing I wanted to do, I'll go back to this lighten layer, and with the mask selected, I'm going to go pretty light here, but I'm going to make this a little lighter in the front. Just a little bit. I want to be able to see these little branches in the front there, just to add a little foreground element. Andy from the Michaels forums had mentioned something in the last post about having something in the foreground, just to adds a little something to it, shows some depth to the image. So I tried to incorporate it into this image. Okay, I think that looks alright. Alright, so I don't know, what else does this need? The defense there, let's see. This light that's right here. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see. To 100% here. It's actually someone's house in the background there. It's their window. So let's get rid of that. First I'm going to select the lasso tool. No feathering on it. I'm just going to make the selection. I'm going to draw, a little circle around it here. And I'm going to click on the background layer and hit Control J, which will put it on its own layer. Now I'm going to go to desaturate by clicking on the sponge tool, setting my flow up to 100%, and I'm just going to paint right over it. Get rid of all the color from it. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to go to my brush tool and make it a bit smaller. Just holding down the Alt key, which will bring up your eyedropper. I'm just going to select a color from in here, just a black color. So I'm going to pick it from over here. I'm just going to paint in some of the area over here. Get rid of some of this light that's in there. Okay. Let's paint some of that away. And now I'm going to F5 and bring up that brush again. And no, actually, click on the brush presets. And I'm going to choose this chalk brush right here. That is a chalk brush, right? Yes, it is, the chalk brush. And you really have not that many options with it. So what I'm going to do is just make it a large brush. A little bit big. That should be good. And what I'm going to do is just click right on it. And it might be too much. Just click on it right there. And now when we back up, see, it looks actually like a snowflake now. Kind of just blended that in there. Okay, so alright, what should I do now? I don't know what else it needs. Maybe we can get these snowflakes here to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to select the background layer and hit Control 2. No, I'm sorry, Control Alt 2. And what that does is selects all the highlights in the image. Where I got that from is if you go into your channels panel, you'll see right here it says a shortcut Control 2, which selects all the highlights of the composite image, the red, blue, and green channels. And I just made a selection of it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Control J and jump that onto its own layer. And to raise those highlights and bring out the white, I'm going to put that to screen, which automatically makes it brighter. I'm actually going to duplicate that and make that even a little more brighter. And then merge that down. Just Control E, so it brings those two layers together. And then I'm going to add a mask to it. And if you hold down the Alt key while you click on that mask, it'll automatically invert it for you by making it black. Actually, you know what? We don't even need to do that. Just click on the mask and then grab a brush and a nice soft brush, and this dog keeps running in and out of the room here and making all sorts of noise. I'm just going to paint here with black. On the mask. Turn the opacity down a little bit. And it kind of looks like I'm really making the snowman dark, but this is what he actually was like before we increased the levels there. So all around over by the snow and all this area too. Yeah. So now click that on and off. You can see it just makes the snow a little bit brighter for us. Okay. I think what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to add a little bit of texture to the snowman here. I'm going to duplicate the background layer, Control J or Command J if you're using a Mac. And I'm going to go to Filter and High Pass, which, you know, most of the time you use this to as like a sharpening filter, where you keep it nice low radius so it defines these little edges, but I'm going to bump it all the way up, like way up. So I basically just want like these areas in here. See how they're getting really like defined. That's what I'm looking for. A little too much. Okay, and then just hit OK. And change the layer to linear light, which really gives it a lot of punch. But it's way too much, so we're going to create the mask. And now I'm going to use the little trick by holding Alt, clicking on the mask, and I'm still in the brush tool, and it should still have transfer on. That's what I want it on, so I'm going to turn it on so make sure the pen pressure's there. And I'm just going to paint in these areas to bring out some texture. So usually the areas that are lighter, so should paint it in with white, not black. Just paint the little areas in, and it'll actually define some texture for it. If you go over the black areas, it's actually going to make them darker, so you can do that in certain spots. But generally, unless you really need to make them darker, I usually just stick to the whiter areas and just bring out the highlights. Usually that's all you need. If you think you went too far, just hit X and just go back over it a little bit. And change the size of the brush. You know, sometimes you want to cover a larger area, make it a smooth transition. Yeah, see, that's a little too much. Just trying to go over the areas that, you know, have little areas of white, things of that nature. Usually areas that have harsh light, like I don't want to do that, that's just way too bright, but for some reason it doesn't seem like my pressure sensitivity is working. I'm just going to lower the opacity on the brush right now. That's a little too low. Bring that up a bit. I think you get the general idea as to what you should do or how you should do it. You can see it's adding some darkness in there, just creating some texture in the image. Of course, you don't want to go too much because then it just looks fake. You can even do some down here in the snow. You don't want to do too much down here because then you start taking away the attention from the subject, which is obviously Mr. Snowman there, or Cletus as we like to call him. But there you have it. That's pretty much it. Yeah, you could do a little sharpening on them and save them out as a JPEG, or print them out, do whatever you'd like with them. But let's go to, I don't know why it does that all the time. I don't like that. There we go. Got a full screen. Check out Cletus. Alright guys, see you next week.